Ladies and gentlemen, news just in. We are in the grip of an outbreak. There's been an incursion by stealth. You might not have noticed, but it's happening right before your very eyes. And I'm talking about the relentless rise of the Volkswagen T-Roc. Now, 8 years ago, there were absolutely zero T-Rocs roaming the streets of Britain. Fast forward 8 years, we now have over 150,000, and that trend shows no sign of slowing down. I've crunched the numbers, and if it continues to rise at this present rate, then in 5 years' time, we're looking at 7 million T-Rocs on our streets. In 10 years' time, we're looking at 150 million T-Rocs roaming the streets of Britain. And in a century, there'll be over 200 million T-Rocs roaming the streets of Britain.
That, my friends, is not scaremongering, it's just maths. And the T-Roc surge shows no sign of relenting, because now there's a new one.
And here it is, the new second generation VW T-Roc. Sorry about the slightly dramatic introduction there. This isn't the kind of car that's gonna set your hair on fire, so I thought I'd zhuzh it up a bit. The point still stands though, because the T-Roc is a bit of a success story for VW. It's the kind of car where I mention it and people go, T-Roc? I haven't really seen many of those. But then you go away and have a proper look around and you can't stop seeing them. They're everywhere.
Worldwide, VW have shifted more than 2 million examples of the first generation T-Roc. That's a lot of rock, which means there's a bit of pressure on this new one.
Not least because it goes up against everything. It's a small SUV and it's got a lot of rivals. Things like the Ford Puma, the Honda CRH, the Hyundai Kona, the Mini Countryman, the Honda HR-V, the Audi Q2, the Seat Ateca. I could go on and on and on. In terms of this car's market segment, it's standing room only.
And in a bid to stay ahead of the competition, the new £30,000 T-Roc has gone big. This second generation car weighs in nearly 5 inches longer than the old car and is taller and wider too.
It's got new looks, it's got new tech, and it's got new engines, which means we should probably stop and launch it. Only joking, it's a T-Roc, innit? We're not gonna launch it. What we are gonna do though is pull over and have a little look around.
Okay, design. It's definitely more distinctive than the old T-Roc, which is good because in the wrong spec, that was the kind of car you could lose in a busy supermarket car park, even if you were sitting in it. This one though, quite distinctive, especially if you've gone for this canary yellow paint job, which by T-Roc standards is pretty T-Roc and roll. LED headlights are standard across the range, front and rear light bars are not standard across the range but look sharp on this R-Design spec. And it's now available with 20-inch wheels. The old car maxed out at 19s. Downsides, there's a whole lot of shiny black plastic at the front, which the younger me thinks, yeah, looks like a superhero's mask. And the older me thinks, that's gonna be a pain to keep clean. Oh, and the exposed foam behind the bumper makes it look a tiny bit cheap. Overall, it's a more memorable car than before. Not a high bar, but they've cleared it. And inside, it's also quite a nice place to sit.
And on that score, the T-Roc did have quite a bit of work to do because it wasn't exactly the most premium car on the market. A lot of reliance on heavy, hard plastics, but to VW's credit, they've stepped the game up and improved the interior for this generation of T-Roc. Have a look at the dashboard, for example. We've got some leather going on here, some silver trim, this kind of soft touch cloth on the top. And then on the doors, we've got some more faux leather with some perforations, just showing some ambient lights peeking through. That's quite a nice touch. There's still some hard plastic going on, particularly on the lower dash section, just by here with the glove box, for example, but it's a step up, believe me. Now, let's talk practicality. In the center console, we've got a wireless phone charger, which does look quite nice. We've got 2 USB ports, a storage area for the car key, and also down here, adjustable cup holders where you can change the size of the cup holders depending on the size of your cup. We've also got some room in here for your bits and bobs. Onto tech now. We've got a big upgrade in that department. The driver display is all digital now and it's very, very clear and shows the information that you want in a way that's very easy to understand. And even if you adjust the steering wheel up and down, in and out, the screen remains visible pretty much whatever you do to the steering wheel. In terms of the infotainment system, now I've had a rant about VW infotainment systems in the past and you can watch any of my previous videos to understand what I don't like, but this ain't too bad. It's fairly responsive. It does look clear. I do have a little bit of a problem with the fact that they don't have physical buttons on it, but at least to their credit, they have now given us some backlit buttons for the temperature controls and the volume controls. So, baby steps.
They've also given us more tech features. The car will allow you to download apps over the air, and that includes things to upgrade the car itself, as well as entertainment apps and games, including the Air Console system that lets you play an assortment of titles using your phone as a controller. Some okay, some fairly terrible.
Now, I'm not expecting masses from the space in the back, but actually, it's not terrible back here. That front seat is adjusted for me, and I've got a decent amount of legroom. The headroom is actually not bad. I'm 5'11", by the way, and I've got some space for my feet as well. So actually, there's enough space for me back here. I do worry about how many people you could actually carry in the back though, because I don't think you get 3 people across the back bench. You might get 2 and a small child maybe in the middle, but that is probably about your limit. Also, notice this quite large transmission tunnel in the center, which might make it a bit awkward for people sitting in the middle. But speaking of the middle, we do have a couple of cup holders just there. That's useful. We've also got headrests for 3 individual passengers. We do have a little space to put your gadgets hidden out of sight. We do have your temperature, but you can't actually adjust the temperature. That's just a display for showing what the temperature is, which seems completely pointless. 2 USB ports, and also this window goes all the way down. Not perfect back here, not as spacious as you might think by looking at the car from the outside, but not terrible either. Right, time for boot space. We've done front space, back space, and boot space. All about practicality today. That's not how you open it. Is it down here? Yes, that is how you open it. That is a decent amount of room, although maybe not as big as you might expect given the size of the car, but still quite spacious, I think you'll find. Plus you get extra bits and bobs, including a 12-volt power supply, a little hook there for your shopping bags. This thing, whatever this is, it's a gun. Is that a gun? No, it's not a gun, is it? Surely not. No, that is your tire puncture repair kit. And then on the other side, you have a first aid kit. Plus, underneath, a lot of storage. That is where you'd normally put a spare tire, but no tire in this case. Instead, there's just a sort of, what is that? Yeah, that's a subwoofer, isn't it?
In total, there's 465 litres of space with the seats up, around 20 litres more than the old car. And with all the seats folded down, it becomes a pretty decent tip companion, or IKEA buddy. Oh, that slanted roofline means there's actually less space above the parcel shelf than the old T-Roc, but it's really not the end of the world.
Basically, VW's prioritised human space over luggage space, which begs the question, what do you value more, your children or your luggage? I suppose it depends what child, doesn't it? And also what suitcase.
Before we go any further, a tiny detour. If your SUV isn't as popular as the T-Roc, if the paintwork isn't attracting admiring glances from 100 paces, and if the technology doesn't allow you to play video games using your phone as a controller for some strange reason, maybe it's time to switch lanes. Maybe it's time for an upgrade. Maybe it's time for Autotrader. Anyway, back on the road.
Let's talk performance. Actually, performance is a little bit strong. Let's talk what's under the engine. And on that subject, you get a choice. You can either get a 1.5 litre 48 volt mild hybrid, or you can get a 1.5 litre 48 volt mild hybrid. The entry level engine only makes 116 horsepower. Don't get that unless you have nowhere to be, ever. The more powerful version of the engine makes 150 horsepower, which is quite a lot really on paper. I remember back in the day, I had a 150 horsepower Vauxhall Astra GTE 16 valve, and that thing pulled like a train. This car pulls like a train leaving a train station, very gently.
That power goes to the front wheels alone through a 7-speed DSG box. There's no manual option, which I suspect will bother precisely 0 T-Roc customers.
0 to 60 takes 9 seconds, so it's not really going to frighten the current crop of electric crossovers at all, is it? But having said that, it's still got a decent turn of pace, enough for you to overtake with enough planning, enough for you to merge onto the motorway safely, and enough for you to pull away from a set of traffic lights without embarrassing yourself. And that is what T-Roc customers want.
What they'll also want is range and efficiency. VW claim the T-Roc will do up to 50 miles per gallon on the WLTP cycle, so more range than the average electric SUV, and importantly, the ability to top it up again in a matter of minutes.
On the subject of EVs, VW say they are not going to make an electric version of the T-Roc. In fact, word on the street is the T-Roc is their last ever pure internal combustion engine car. 90 years of VW Beetles and Polos and Scirocco's and Golfs, and it all ends with this, a bright yellow T-Roc. Look how they massacred my boy. Mind you, times change, people change, and the people that buy T-Rocs, what they want is comfort and ease. And on that subject, the T-Roc kind of delivers, really. Your first impression when you drive this car is that it's very relaxing. The seats are pretty comfortable. The suspension is nice and wafty. It irons out the road. The steering is extremely light. And also, I was in two minds about this little drive controller thing up here at first. It kind of looked a bit weird to me, the thing that you used to go between drive, neutral, and reverse. But actually, having it in that position, just up there at your fingertips, is really useful. It means you can put it into drive and reverse and parallel park without really faffing about and taking your hands off the wheel. It's a clever system. And speaking of hands being on the wheel, that's kind of optional in this car at times, because it's got this really clever radar system that scans the road in front, and it allows you to use adaptive cruise control to accelerate and brake and maintain the distance to the car in front. It even steers the car as long as there are lane markings. It kind of works like Tesla's autopilot system, really. It just kind of takes the hassle out of driving. It even lets you change lane on a motorway just by indicating. It's really clever.
The T-Roc is based on the same MQB Evo platform as the current Golf, which means it should know what to do if you find yourself confronted with a corner.
If you are in that minority of T-Roc owners that drives for pleasure, do you know what? You're not actually going to be that disappointed by this car, because the engine is definitely powerful enough to get you into a situation, but also out of it. And in a bend, there's so much grip to this car. And the traction, obviously, isn't an issue, because it's not super powerful, but you can have a bit of a laugh in it. Yeah, there's a bit of body roll, but what do you expect? It's a family SUV. Honestly though, it's quite entertaining. Well, maybe entertaining is a little bit strong, but it can put a smile on your face in the right situation. Get this as well, VW are planning to make a 300 horsepower T-Roc R. Does that car need to exist? No. Am I glad it does? Yeah.
But as for this, the regular car, the word I'd use to describe it is convenient, easy to live with.
The new T-Roc doesn't really break any new ground. It's kind of like mowing an existing lawn. But then again, the original T-Roc wasn't exactly revolutionary either, and that thing sold by the bucket load. This new one is better than the previous car in pretty much every single way. And you know what that means? The T-Roc epidemic is all set to continue.